Welcome to episode 100 of Warriors Unmasked. Today, my partner Clint Malarchuk and I sit down with published author, actress, model, life coach, and mental health advocate, Miss Deborah Driggs. Deborah will take a deep dive into her journey from being knocked down many times in life, including growing up in a broken family, going through a divorce, financial insecurity, and rehab, to slowing down and beginning a healing journey that not only changed her life, but the lives of everyone she comes in contact with. This episode is bound to take you from feeling sadness, compassion, and empathy to feeling hope, happiness, encouragement, and complete empowerment. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another amazing episode of Warriors Unmasked as we sit down with Miss Deborah Driggs.
You're listening to Warriors Unmasked, where you'll hear powerful stories about courage, perseverance, and overcoming mental illness from athletes both professional and amateur, coaches, military personnel, first responders, and even the people next door. Welcome mental health advocates and your host, former NCAA first team All-American and professional goaltender, professional speaker, and life coach, Chuck Thus. And former National Hockey League goaltender, best-selling author, professional speaker, and suicide survivor, Clint Malarchuk.
This episode of Warriors Unmasked has been brought to you by the American Hat Company. American Hat Company has been making the finest cowboy hats for the past 106 years. We are proud to be Americans, and we are proud to wear American hats. For more information, check them out on the web at americanhat.net. This week's episode of Warriors Unmasked has been brought to you by the Shift Group. Shift Group is turning athletes into sales professionals. Is your company looking to hire driven, competitive former athletes? Are you a former college or pro hockey player or former collegiate athlete in any sport and trying to figure out what's next? Consider a meaningful career in technology sales and let the Shift Group guide you every step of the way. Reach out to them directly at www.shiftgroup.io or email them directly at jr@shiftgroup.io to get started today. Are you a business owner looking to spice up your brand? Look no further than Pete Thus at Talbot Marketing. Pete can help you with all your promotional product and corporate apparel needs. From pens to tumblers and polos to jackets, Talbot Marketing is your one-stop shop for anything you need branded with your logo. Reach out to Pete today at 519-494-7629. Welcome published author, actress, model, life coach, and mental health advocate, Miss Deborah Driggs. Deborah, welcome to Warriors Unmasked. This is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure for me to be here, and I'm always so grateful to be asked to share my story or share some insight. So thank you.
Well, thank you. There's a lot to Deborah Driggs. We were just kind of visiting a little bit before we hit record, and I think you, the listener, you're in for a real treat today. And little do you know, Deborah, but this is a milestone today for Clint and I. This is episode 100 of Warriors Unmasked. So this is extra special. And to have somebody as dynamic as you that's been through so much, always coming out on top. And really, I love how you start your bio that you sent to us, is that you're on a healing path. I absolutely love that. But the first thing we want to start is there's life lessons that Deborah has, and we want you to share one of them before we get started, or as a way to get started.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, let me congratulate you on your 100th episode, because I know that is, that's a huge milestone. It's really hard to break into anything, really, any type of business or podcasting, radio show, TV, whatever it is. So congratulations, huge milestone. And I'm so happy that I get to be a part of that today. So thank you. And yeah, God, life lessons. I'm 59 years young and I've been through some stuff. And I would say the biggest thing that I talk about a lot is I learned a lot from my divorce. What I really coach my women and my men on is don't do anything for 90 days. Meaning, when you take time to look at your part in every situation, things look completely different. And so the biggest life lesson I've learned is that I don't make impulsive decisions anymore. I sleep on everything at least for 24 hours. And anytime I feel like I want to make a major decision, I look at kind of like time now a little bit differently. And there is like a 30-day, a 60-day, and a 90-day mark. And when I work with my clients that are making big decisions, especially thinking that they want to get a divorce, I'm like, why don't you at least take 30 days before making a permanent decision when you're in a temporary emotional state? That's my number one life lesson is don't make permanent decisions when you're in a temporary emotional state. And so, yeah, that I'm huge on that one because I made that mistake. I made the mistake of,
Now you tell me. Divorced 3 times. Now you tell me.
yes, see, you should have, if you would have found me, I would have been like, wait, put the brakes on.
Well, and I love that, Deborah, because I think in a world that we live in today, it's a world that people make knee-jerk decisions really, really quick. Make decisions um, on temporary situations, like you just said. And I've shared this with Clinton. Clinton and I talk about so much, but in the past 8 months, we've lost 7 former hockey players. I can't help but think that some of those situations were making a permanent decision in a temporary situation. And maybe the situation didn't seem temporary because it seemed like it lasted forever. I know it did with, but that's love that life lesson. And for you to share that coming out of the gate, that is a huge one. So thank you.
Yeah. And I'm really sorry for that because it's very, unfortunately, I've been hearing that too a lot in my world, where, I mean, we're seeing it on social media. And so, yeah, it's a delicate situation. It's, that's part of my story too. I had a lot of suicidal thoughts in 2007 and 8 and ended up going to rehab for depression and alcohol and all of that. So I get it, and that's why I think it's such a mission of mine to stay on this healing path because it is a journey and it is a practice. It's not like I'm fixed. It's a journey and things come up in life, as you know. And so if you know that you're on a journey and there's going to be these waves, it's like that's one of the things that I love. If you guys like metaphors, it's like try to stop a wave, just try to stop it. No, stop the wave, right? And it's like, can't. And that's kind of like the metaphor for life. You can't stop anything. And the best we can do is just know that everything's going to work out. But it's a very interesting shift of energy that's going on right now.
And it's very intense. And so, Deborah, I'd love for you to take us back a little bit. It doesn't have to be all the way to the beginning, but you shared a little bit that 2007, 2008 was a really tough time for you. And what's very interesting is that was a very tough time for me as well. I would love to hear kind of your journey through that and how you've come to this healing place and all the things that you've been through. Because when people probably do some research on Deborah Driggs, they see that she's an actress, she's a model, she's done all these amazing things in life. And a lot of people think when they see people like you, and I'm sure that you, the listeners, thinking, what in the world could ever this lady have ever gone through? She's a published author. She's all of these amazing things. But you've been there and back, and you've been through a lot to get to where you are. And to recognize that you're on this healing journey is absolutely amazing. I love to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, I would say I think when you get knocked down too many times and you have no program, so to speak, like you have no journey, you have no path, and you get knocked down too many times, that seems like the only solution because I didn't know that anything that I do now existed. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know that there was like a whole way of living that involved healing and recovery and self love. I grew up in a time where everybody just like plowed through stuff. Nobody talked about their feelings. Nobody taught, I had 2 parents that were completely disconnected and were not available emotionally at all. And so I grew up with that. So I just thought that's the way it was. And so it took me until I was 40 years old to figure out that I had to look at things on a much deeper level. And yeah, so I think in 2008 it all came to a head for me because I thought, wow, I'm out of ideas. All my ideas aren't working anymore. And I'm now in my 40s. So I'm not on the top of the world. I'm not on magazine covers anymore. Nobody really, it's like, Deborah who, and that's kind of an ego deflation when you kind of, if you're a professional athlete, a model, an actor, whatever. And all of a sudden It's hard, I think, when people know who you are and then you go to like, now I'm selling real estate. It's like, is that crazy? I mean, that's my story though. And so it's hard. And so when we see celebrities kind of fall or professional athletes fall, it's because there's something about that attention that's a little addicting. And then when it's gone, it's like a codependent thing, a relationship with that attention that's gone. And I think I went through that, a divorce, financial insecurity, and like having to reinvent myself all at once. And I was like, and with 3 little kids. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. And there was nothing really available. Like today, you have podcasts and you have self-help books, like, and people on YouTube. And if I Google something, I can find the information. And I didn't really know that any of that kind of stuff existed. So we live in a really great time right now, really, for help. We have an abundance of it.
Yeah. Deborah, I love how you bring that to light that, being an actress or in all the amazing things that you did. And when you come on the downside of that career, Clint and I have often talked about, and Clint does amazing work with veterans and military people and athletes. It's like we're brothers from another mother. We've just got this amazing synchronicity, this amazing understanding. We're so similar in so many ways. But many of us probably don't think that actors and actresses and models and all of these things and people that do that type of work in that industry have that same slide at the end of the career. Because I know for military and for athletes, that transition out of one way of living to another way of living can be just incredibly difficult and sometimes takes years, if they ever make that transition. Wouldn't you say, Clint?
Oh, yeah. After my modeling career ended, I was crushed. I didn't know what to do. I was like, maybe I'll be a dumb goalie and play hockey.
Clint, you should still be modeling. Look at yourself. I mean, my God, I can see you on the cover of Patagonia or, what is that? All those country
Yeah,
catalogs.
keep talking. This could be a real long interview. Keep going.
And I think, Deborah, you're very right that we do live in an amazing time right now because we're finally getting to a point, and I hope that in the industries that you've been in, people are learning that they can put their hand up to say that they're not okay. And I think we're slowly getting there, Clint, don't you think, with athletes, with military folks? It's been a long road, but I think we're starting to get a little bit more down that road where it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to say we need help. It's okay to put your hand up and say, hey, you know what? I'm struggling. And I love to hear that in your former industries, that's starting to be acceptable as well. That's wonderful to hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's okay to say me too.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you, when I ended up in my rehab in 2008, literally, I thought, how the heck did I end up here? Like what happened to me? I used to be cute and funny. And like, I just remember being in lockdown going, what the heck is going on? And then, but I found my people. I was like, I felt more at home there than anywhere I had ever been because we all related to the same stuff. We all suffered from the same.
But was that right away, Deborah?
It took about a month. I went to like 3 different places and I remember it finally hit me like, these are my people. We're all suffering from the same type of stuff. And when people would share and talk about what they were going through, I was like, me too. Like, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. When you suffer with any type of mental, whether it could be anything, gambling, overeating, alcoholism, drugs, I don't care what it is. Social media is now an addiction, or personality disorder, or codependency, or love addiction, whatever it is. The underlining theme of it is that there's a struggle. And when people share about those struggles, I relate no matter what it is that they're suffering from. I related. And it's interesting because then I didn't feel alone. Growing up in the entertainment world, because I really did. I was a kid when I started in it. I was 19 as a professional cheerleader that turned model and actress. And I was a kid and I was addicted to that attention. I was running around all ego. Everything was ego. Everything was about me. All eyes on me. Everything was my world. I had no outside. I didn't know what was going on in the world, and I was a kid, really young. And so when I, in my 40s now, going through like mental health issues and really suffering, and then finding people that I related to, I was like, okay, this is going to be the deal. And then I went on a journey of healing. So that's why I said it never ends. I think, there are times that come up even today where I'm like, "Whoa, there's that feeling. Whoa, boy." It's like it comes up and I recognize it now. I used to not recognize it. It used to be this foreign thing and I would think there was something wrong with me, but now I recognize it and I go, okay, it'll pass.
And with that word recognition, there's the other word, you process it probably.
Yeah. And that's beautiful because now I have writing as an outlet and I can just write about everything and share it. I write a weekly blog. I share this stuff with the world. And that's been really cool because I have people write me now and say, wow, okay, I just read your blog. Yeah, I'm going through that.
You find, Deborah, you look back on the journey that you've been on, do you find it acceptable? Are there people that you worked with throughout the years, they're accepting your journey now, or are there still people that are standing off and saying, yeah, that's not me. I don't have any of that. I don't understand that. Or is it more of an open arms, welcoming, yes, thank you for sharing, because by you sharing, you're empowering everybody else that hears your story as well?
I think there's a huge welcoming. And even though I'm sharing on something that's very public, I'm actually very private as far as I'm not on any type of campaign. And I will say that because I write a weekly blog and just from the things that I do, and I do coach a few women right now, I've had people from my past in the entertainment industry reach out to me because they go, wow, could I just book a call with you? Like when my kids were in preschool, I've had mothers from that time 30 years ago reach out to me. So I think it's attraction. I don't really have to do much. I think people see that there is something going on, there's a change, and I'm not the person that I was even a year ago. I feel like I'm continually growing and hopefully shutting off some of those defects that I had from 30 years ago. That's the whole goal, really, when you're on a healing, recovering journey is to kind of let that stuff shed off you and embrace kind of like new, beautiful attributes.
So, Deborah, did this all start in 2008 when you went to rehab? That's where you look familiar. I went to rehab in 2008 too.
Yeah, well, it was in Utah in the mountains. You look like somebody that was there with me.
Mine had bars, steel bars.
Mine had bars at first too. Okay. Mine had bars. I was in lockdown
Oh, were you?
being told, oh, yeah, I was being told that I would either go to rehab or they'd put me in front of a judge because they were very worried for my safety because I was out of my mind. And so, yeah, I was in lockdown, like crazy house.
In your bio, you said you almost died twice because of alcohol. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a deadly disease. And, the problem with alcohol is in my right mind, when I'm sober from the neck up, meaning there's nothing in my body. And I think everything affects me from the neck up. So I have to be very careful. I don't even take melatonin. I don't take anything that affects me from the neck up because I'm just one of those people that's wired to do more always with sugar, anything. And so in my right mind, I would never consider thinking, oh God, I should just take a bottle of pills and end it. Right. But when I'm in my drunk state, that seems like a really good idea. And that's sad because I wouldn't do that in my right mind.
Totally relate. I'm a suicide survivor. Yeah, I pulled a trigger and I still have the bullet lodged in my skull. And I always say when I public speak, Clint Malarchuk in his right mind would never have done that. And I wouldn't, even though I was suffering with depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder. I mean, But I was self-medicating. I was drinking, a ton.
Yeah, that was my story. I didn't know. See, what you don't know, you don't know. And I didn't know that I had alcoholism. I didn't know. I just thought I was drinking a bottle of wine to like, okay, calm myself down. I actually just watched a movie and I went, that's my story. I've never seen a movie before that I related to as much as this one. It just came out with Sigourney Weaver and Kevin Kline. It's called The Good House. And she is an alcoholic in the movie, and she's constantly getting her wine, and then her kids make her go to rehab, and then she sneaks the wine. And the movie starts out kind of like you're going along with her on the journey thinking, "Oh, maybe her drinking's not that bad," but then you see it progresses. And it's such a great it really reminded me of what my drinking looked like. It I was like, "Wow, that's what I look like." And when you're not in your right mind, anything can happen, and it's very sad because like you said, in your right mind, that would never be a choice.
I think Deborah and Clint both, I think that's really a case with a lot of people that have an addiction to alcohol and most likely drugs as well, but I think alcohol for sure. Because Clint, as you and I have talked, it starts out, especially in our industry that we were in, it starts out a couple beers after the game, couple beers, this night, and then a few more beers this night, and a couple more. And before you know it, you're having 4 or 5 beers, 6, 7 nights a week. And well, then 4 or 5 beers don't do much. Well, maybe I need to ramp it up to 6 or 8, so at least I can feel a little something after I played a good game. So I have 6 or 8, 3 or 4 or 5 nights a week. And before you know it, then you're not playing. It's like, well, we're not playing today. So why don't I just go get 10 or 12 and we'll have 10 or 12 beers. We'll just sit around and shoot the breeze with the guys. And that's a good idea. Then we'll order pizza. That's a good idea. And I think before you know it, the lifestyle that you're living forms the activities that you're doing. And I think alcohol is one of those things that can quickly take over without people even knowing it's taking over.
Well, that is 100% my story. I had no idea. I really had no idea. When somebody said to me, "I think you're an alcoholic," I was like, "Really?" And it's like I don't like defeat. I don't like the first step of you're powerless over. I've never been powerless over anything. And I was like, "No, I got this. I got this," which made it worse. Right? Because then you've got this, like, information, and it's like, it's no fun. And then you really feel I felt so crazy trying to really, like, prove that wasn't the case, and it was really depression, and it was really anxiety, you know? And then it's like, just stop the madness.
Yeah, that leads into where I was kind of going. You did a great segue. I'm not sure what that word means, but I think I used it right. That, for me, with the anxiety and depression, my obsessive compulsive disorder, I would self medicate. I would drink. And the numbing, oh, finally, I don't have to spin in my head. If I'm depressed, I could have a few beers and wow, I feel much better. Or if my anxiety's off the charts, the beer would calm me down. And, before my suicide attempt, I was drinking 20 to 30 beers a day, just to get through a day. Now that sounds like a lot, but that's American beer and I'm Canadian. So I was drinking like four.
Oh my god. But that's the progression. I mean, we laugh, but that's the progression. And, for me, the writing has been just so genius because things will come up now where I'll go, "Oh, yeah, that was showing up when I was working because 'cause I'd go to work hungover." And, "Oh, yeah." Now I'll look at old photos and I'll go, "Oh, I was drunk that day," And so I now can see very clearly, but when you're in it, you're not seeing it clearly. And so I can just look back and go, "Wow, I don't even know how I survived all that, really." But yeah, it progressed. So by the time I got to my 40s, I was deep into the the illness of being so dope sick, I guess is the best way to put it, that it progressed so hard. And they say with women go down harder and faster than men, and it progresses quick. So that is definitely in my case.
We deal with our mental illness, whether it's anxiety or depression, whatever. And then we self medicate. And then all of a sudden, we're what they call dual diagnosis. Like for me, alcoholic and mentally ill. And it's like that progression that you talked about. And Chuck mentioned it, a few beers and then it's more and to get the same effect. but so many people can relate to this story. So many people.
Oh, yes. I talk about dual diagnosis. I mean, I'm like a wackadoodle, like alcoholic, codependent, love addicted, compulsive, disorder. Like, yeah, just throw it all in there, mix it up, and then just stay on your healing path. When you really like look at the crazy idiosyncrasies of the disease, like now when I'm like, oh boy, that's a little compulsive, or my fear now can just destroy me. And I'm like, oh, that's just fear, Deb. It'll pass, but I would go pour a glass of wine. In the past, when that stuff would come up and I'd be like, I can't breathe, open a bottle of wine. Okay, we're good. That's why you got to see the good house because that's exactly what it describes.
What are some of the tools now that you use, not just to stay sober, but to keep your balance?
Well, that's a great question. And I will say that ironically, as I have really been on this journey and I follow a lot of very successful people and I've met a lot of mentors and entrepreneurs along the way. The ironic thing is my schedule and my journey is very similar to very successful entrepreneurs. So I have a morning routine. I get up. I have a morning routine that is like a non-negotiable for me. It's like just all these things that I do to start my day. And then, I stick to a really good routine. And if I feel off kilter, because I have wonky days, they come, I know what to do. Like I just pull back a little bit and I go, okay, Deb, go meditate or go read or go for a walk. Walking is like my best friend now. If I get wonky, yesterday I got a work email that I didn't like and I got wonky. My old defects can kind of pop in a little bit. And I got a little wonky and I thought, oh, I know what to do. So I just went and put on my walking shoes and I went for an hour and a half walk and came back and that email, I didn't care anymore. That's what I mean about like, if we just stop when the madness starts. In the past, I would have sat and obsessed over this email. And it's like, I can't control it. So why not go do something healthy for me? Because today is a new day. And guess what? That email had no significance whatsoever on my day today. And I could have let it take over. And so I think today that's the biggest lesson today is knowing when I get into situations that I don't like, have nothing to do with anybody except whatever's going on in this crazy mind at that moment, is to go and do something on my list. And by the way, I have lists everywhere, go for a walk, meditate, read, listen to something positive. And, or, I have a huge support group. I have mentors and coaches myself. Listen, to be a really good coach, I have to constantly be coached myself. That's the game.
And I love that, Deb, that you talk about your morning routine because Clint and I are both those people as well. We have our things that we start our day with. And I think once you realize that you're on that healing journey and that certain things put you in the right lane for the day, doesn't mean you're going to stay there the whole day, but those things do become non-negotiable. And I would encourage you, the listener, to do the same thing, that to find what really puts you in that right lane. For me, it's waking up, meditating, doing my gratitude journal, spending some time in prayer, and then I start my day with a workout or whatever it is. Then I can ease into my day. But those three things for me are non-negotiable. And I know for Clint, it's a workout. But I just love that. And I want to encourage you, the listener, to do the same thing. Because if you can start that morning routine in a way that puts you in a healthy headspace, it is a complete game changer.
Totally. The hat came off. I think there's something coming now.
You gave a great example about an email that was kind of upsetting. And I know when I get something that's upsetting, something didn't go right with a freaking cow or horse or a client, it might be. And
A cow, a horse, or a client? I'll take the cow and the horse.
okay, so what happens is if I can find a little meditation, I find that you turn it over to your higher power, meditate, and then you come back. Go, what was the big deal? Ta-da!
It's usually the case. It's interesting. I've had little God shots along the way. And, I used to do this intense adventure racing. And I would do a lot of yoga. And I can remember like thinking about something, or I'd be really upset about something. And then I'd go and do yoga. And I'd come out of yoga thinking, what was I upset about? Like it totally evaporated. And that was my first kind of clue to, this was way before I got divorced and had started going down. I was racing and doing athletics and doing yoga, and dr- all the stuff had kind of taken a little back seat. But you see, even that, I couldn't just work out. I had to do adventure racing. I had to go do 12-hour races. That's the kind of mind I live with. It's like, I can't just, it's like either 0 or 100 and nothing in between. But that is a memory that I have, though, is being upset and then doing yoga and coming out and thinking, I forgot what I was upset about. And that serves me because, see, all the good things, it's not all bad. So there are some great things that stuck with me. And I thought, oh, well, that part, I understand that meditation and prayer because it works.
So Deborah, I want to, for our listeners, I'd like to wind the clock back just a little bit. Was there a particular time when you look back that you had that aha moment that you realized you couldn't keep going down the path or keep going on the journey you were going, and you had to make a hard left turn and start down this healing journey that you're on now? Is there any moment in time that you can remember that it was like, aha, that's when it hit me. That's when I realized that I needed to change something?
It's a great question. And I know that a lot of people have that aha moment. I've had so many aha moments. Like I write about it all the time because when I'll remember one and go, oh, just I think really it's not a particular moment in time for me. It's just part of a journey of a lot of different aha moments. And I can tell you this, that when I realized that I had a big part in a lot of stuff that was used to really bring me down, and when I could really look at my part in every situation, it's like there's always something to be grateful for. When that actually clicked in my mind, that's probably the best aha moment for me because I realized there's no way to live life besides that. To have relief is just to let it all go and go, you know what? If I stay in gratitude, I'm good. Because it's hard to be upset and grateful at the same time. Because I've tried it. You can't do it.
Right, right. And listeners, try different things like yoga. I tried yoga. It wasn't for me. I just, I had a bad experience with a bear. His name was Yoga Bear. And so yoga just didn't work. But I don't know, Deborah, if you saw Chuck and I going, oh, Yogi Bear. Oh, okay, whatever. Um, that was Boo Boo. Maybe it was Boo Boo that I dated. I'm not sure. But Chuck and I were pointing at it because I think introduced Chuck to the words God shot, and we were looking at it like we were pointing. Did I, Chuck? Yeah. And we pray and we waiting. God shots are around us all the time, but we just have to pick up on them. Like they're small. Like I believe Chuck and I meeting was a God shot because now we're best friends. But we knew we had mutual friends and things like that. But listeners, pay attention to those little God shots.
It gives me chills because I had one today that was like, whoa, like super cool. Like, and listen, I believe in God. There are so many things that are unexplainable in my world that it's hard not to believe in something outside of myself, right? So there's just too many things. So I don't care. Like I can believe in the earth, Mother Nature, the universe, the stars, but I believe in God. And yeah, I had a huge God shot because when I was married, my husband and I used to always say 252. And the reason we used to say, listen, this is crazy stuff. We used to, because I modeled for Playboy. I was in Playboy magazine. And so I used to call Playboy, the Playboy building. And to get to the promotion, I would say Playboy Promotions. And the woman, I'll never forget her. She'd go, 252. because that was the extension to Playboy promotion. So my husband and I would always make a joke whenever I call. He'd go, 252. I go, 252. Guess what my property in Florida just sold for today? 252.
252. Can I get that number? Not to promotions, just to the Playboy mansion or something
252.
like that.
That's the extension. So the famous building on Sunset, it's no longer there, was the Playboy building. And we would call as playmates to check in for jobs and auditions and stuff. And I'd say Playboy promotions. And the woman always responded with 252. So that number shows up in my life. We're talking 30 years later. I just sold a property for 252. I told the realtor, I said, "You're not going to believe the story." She's like, "That's crazy." I'm like, "I know." It's like, those are the things that I just believe there's no accident, because that was a joke. I was married for 14 years. In those 14 years, that was an ongoing joke of 252. That was her voice. That's how she said it. And it's still in my life. So
14 years adds up to probably all my marriages, 4 of them.
Oh boy. So Deborah, you're on this healing journey. What does life look like for you today? Because you've done a lot. You've been able to experience some amazing things throughout this journey. But what does Deborah Driggs, what does your journey look like today?
that's a really good question. I've actually been reflecting on that because I'm going to be 60 this year. And that's just really mind blowing for me. It's like, what? How can I be 60? It's like, no, what happened? I don't feel 60 and I don't think I look my age, but oh my gosh, what happened? Like, I'm going to be 60. So, yeah, the journey today is I keep everything really simple and in perspective. The things that I really appreciate are so much different. And I see a lot of travel in my future. There's a lot of bucket list items, a lot of traveling that I want to do. And writing, I'm writing every day. I'm actually putting a book together right now that it's all I coach on. So I'm like, I got to write this. I got to make this into a book because I take a lot of women through this 90-day relationship detox. And so I'm writing a book about it and what that entails and how to get over these love heartbreaks. Yeah. So here's the fun story, the fun fact about Son of a Basque, which is a historical fiction. This was a labor of love. It fell into my lap. My grandfather died in 1998, and my grandmother died in 2017. And this was the only thing that I took from her house. I had it shipped to California from Florida, and it was in a box. This was in a box. And my grandfather had written this book. And in the 80s, I even have the letters. They sent it out to publishers and nobody wanted it. And so you have to understand, it sat in a box for 40 years. And so the pages were yellow. And so I'm kind of piecing this thing together in my dining room. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I love this. And so I sent it to a couple of writers that I knew. And I said, just give me your honest, what do you think? And one of them called me back and said, I loved it. And I went, I know, right? I think I'm going to make it into a book. So I spent 2 years and I did a lot of editing. There was a lot of rewriting that had to be done because there were pages missing. And it's a historical fiction because I started out, I wanted it to be an autobiography for my grandfather, but we couldn't because I couldn't fact check everything. And it was just, that became too laboring. And so I just thought it's a historical fiction. And what's really cool now is really looking at making it into a screenplay because the feedback has just been outstanding. This is why I couldn't make it an autobiography because there's no way to track documents from the Basque Country, which is weird. I think it's maybe the one country that when people left that country, they left with no documents. And so it's really hard to fact check some of the things. And without anybody being around to help guide me on it, I did my, what do you call it? Ancestry.com, whatever, where you do the DNA. So I have like one teeny bit of Basque in me and indigenous. Yeah. So it's hard to really know for sure. But yes, he was part Basque on his dad's side, I believe.
A lot of people don't know the Basque people. They are the Great Pyrenees between Spain and France, and they fight. They fight. But I know back only because, where I live here, there's a lot of Basque people. They're sheep herders. They came over years and years ago. Yeah. They have their own dinner. We have a Basque restaurant here in Gardnerville where I live. It's quite a culture.
Yes. And I know about that culture because there's a library there in Reno, Nevada that does very intensive Basque studies because I reached out to them. Yeah, it was such a beautiful project because, I gave my grandfather's eulogy at his funeral. And he was big military, he really was of service to this country. And I think back on that now and I'm like, wow, I didn't do it justice after reading this book. Because imagine this. I'm reading papers about somebody I thought I knew really well, and I'm finding out a lot of information that I did not know. And then it put me on another journey of the importance of keeping track of your family history for generations to come. So I started writing articles. I wrote a couple articles that are on my website about the importance of writing your history down for Jennifer, like my grandkids and their kid, like when they love to know, like, because I loved knowing all of this. And I thought, wow, it kind of bummed me out because I was like, wow, this information has set me on fire. Like I got all fired up because I was like, I want the information now from all my family and they're no longer with us. So I thought, well, I can't do it, but I can let people know how important it is. So I started writing articles about the importance of knowing, even if you don't get along with your family, find out their history. Cause boy, oh boy, there were some beautiful things in this book that I had no idea. And the first chapter had me at hello. It was like, what? He lost his little sister in the well. His dad died, and he became the man of the house at age 10. And it was like, wow, I didn't know any of that.
Isn't that something? Wow. Well, Deborah, where can people reach you now and share a little bit about the coaching that you're doing so that you, the listener, can reach out to Deborah if she's struck a chord, if you feel something that's pulling you to her? Where can people reach out and find you?
So easy. It's my name, DeborahDriggs.com. I have a website. I say that my website is the best place because everything is on there's so much information, all my social media handles. You can subscribe to my weekly letter that I put out, a weekly blog. So you'll get right out of my journal, whatever's going on with me, I write about. And then if you subscribe to my personal letter from listening to the show, I will send you a signed copy of the book.
That is amazing. Well, before we let you go, we want to remind our listeners to go to warriorsunmasked.com where you can listen to this episode and all previous and all episodes that are coming up. And you can also listen to us on Apple Podcast. And when you do, please go to the top right corner and hit that plus sign because you never want to miss an episode of Warriors Unmasked. And this one today with you, Deborah, has been absolutely incredible because I think it shows to a lot of us, and especially to you, the listeners, that when people have fame, they have fortune, they have everything that everybody could ever dream of. And you're a published author, you're an actress, a model. You've done a lot of amazing things in your 59 years on this planet. And you've also been to rehab, you've also been divorced. And people don't think that people that have it all can go through those things. They don't see that they can have those challenges. And I just love that you've been on both sides of the tracks. And now that you're on this healing journey, you're out to help people from all of your life lessons. And it's absolutely incredible how you're now giving back to make the lives of everybody that you come into touch with even better from the things that you've learned. And that's such a gift to be able to do because I think, like Clint, you talked about God shots. That really is a God shot that you took that and God wants you to do this. He wants you to do this work and you're like, yeah, I'll accept that. I'll be on this journey for you. That's 100%. I accept that. And that's a big one because I think in this world today and there's so many people that are getting these God shots, Clint, that you talk about. They come through every day, all day, but we're not aware of them. We're not paying attention to them. We're not taking them to heart, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. They were just passing me over because now when I look back, I can recognize that they were always there. I just wasn't paying attention. And I will say this is very, really, for anybody listening that might be going through a really difficult time, just know that my growth happened when I was on my knees, like with nothing, broke, went to jail, went to rehab, lost everything. That's when the growth began. So if it seems really bad right now, and it wasn't when I was on covers of magazines, it wasn't when I was at the height of my careers, it was when I had nothing that the growth really began. So if you're suffering, hang in there, because this is when it gets good. It gets gooder. So hang in there.
Deb, there are people that are listening today that are on their knees, that are contemplating making that permanent decision to a temporary situation. And you've struck a chord with them and you've maybe set them back in their chair. What would you say to that person if you could talk directly to them one-on-one?
I would say call 5 people right now. Pick up the phone and call 5 people and ask what you can do for them. The minute we get out of our own head, we get out of our way, and we start thinking about other people, we don't have that thought anymore, because I guarantee you, you're sitting there and you're suffering and you're in pain. There's somebody that's suffering even more and they need your help. Be of service. Call 5 people. There are 5 people in your phone that need you. Call them, help them. It's a karma game. It's a karma game. It's a spiritual game. Anytime I start getting those crazy, wild thoughts, I call people and listen to me. I know it works, because when I call people and I go, "How are you doing?" When I'm literally like, I just want to like quit everything, quit my job, quit writing, just I'm done. I'm in that mode. And I call somebody, I go, "How are you doing?" I guarantee by the time I hang up the phone, I'm not thinking about Deb anymore. It's a spiritual game. It's a spiritual game.
Get out of yourself and into others. And boy, you'll be amazed. Yeah, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, or whatever. Get out of yourself and into others. Be of service. You'll be surprised. And you're not alone. You'll realize you're not alone.
It works. I mean, listen, there have been plenty of other times that I didn't want to get out of bed. And I thought, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But then when I call other people and I realize they have it way worse, or they're suffering with something way worse, like, Deborah, what? But see, it's not my fault that I think that way, right? I have this thing that tells me, you know? So that's why I said, don't listen to your own thoughts. Call somebody and listen to their thoughts. It works.
Deb, I absolutely love it. Thank you for being you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And thank you for shining your light to everybody that you're coming in touch with, and using your life journey to make the lives of everyone that you come in touch with just a little bit better. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. You've made a huge difference, not only for me and Clint, but for all of our listeners today. And for that, we're very grateful. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me the time to share my story. And like I said, if anybody wants to reach out to me, please book a complimentary call, subscribe, get a free copy of my book signed just from listening to the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Warriors Unmasked. For more resources and to connect with Clint and Chuck, go to warriorsunmasked.com. If you feel this podcast has impacted you, we ask that you subscribe and share with a friend you feel may want to hear this message.